Hello, friends. We have a beautiful and talented girl with us to present her presentation in this first international e-conference on women's mental and physical health. And her name is Miss Mithi Shukla, and she is a scholar from Amity University, Chhattisgarh. So I welcome Mithi, and over to you.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon to everyone present here. Uh, my name is Meeti Shukla, and I am a scholar from Amity University, Chhattisgarh. I am currently doing my bachelor's in BA Honours Applied Psychology, and I'm a fourth semester student. So, on the occasion of Women's Health Day, Mental Health Day, uh, the paper that I'm presenting in today's conference is Prevailing Need for Sex Education in the Indian Educational Setting. So I have two more people that have really been very helpful. The two authors, that is Dr. Gunjan Mishra and Dr. Tarannum Sarvardani. So let's start with the presentation. Um, So, as you all know, sex is a very sensitive and very personal topic, and especially in India, public discussions about sexual matters, about menstruation, even about masturbation, all of these things are considered as a shameful experience. So, most of us, we do not even talk about these things in front of our elders, even in our peer groups. We usually don't talk about these things. And while some of the other people, they don't even are fully aware about the whole concept behind the sexual intercourse or the bodily changes that happens during this process. So talking about sex is becoming more and more normalized because of the technological interventions that have been happening, and also because more people are becoming aware about it. So sex education have played a very important role in making people aware about these things. The real purpose behind sex education is the transfiguration of a male child into their manhood and the female child into female womanhood. Now, this paper, it aims at informing about the necessity of sex education in the Indian context and why its lack is detrimental in the growth of adolescents. So, as we all know, primarily during adolescence, sex education, its provision is a crucial preventative tool, as it is the time when the young people experience various kind of developmental changes. Their bodies are changing, they are having secondary sexual characteristics development, and everything, their physique, their psychic, everything is changing at the time of the adolescence. Uh, so this affects both their physique and psyche. Added to this, there is also an impulsiveness to indulge into a risky behavior that we can find in adolescents. So these risky behaviors that are actually forbidden by the society and forbidden because of the morality and the values that are there in the society, but they do it. The adolescents, they are impulsive. Their nature has been told about that they are impulsive. So that's why this complex emotional state that these adolescents uh, face in this time, and the need to find self identity around the stigma that is formed by the society, makes it very challenging for the adolescents to attain the knowledge that they need. The existence of these stigmas handicaps the adolescents' health programs. These result in negative health outcomes such as an early and closely spaced pregnancy, unsafe abortion, STDs, HIV/AIDS, and sexual violence, sexual crimes, the rate of which are already disturbingly increasing. So, according to this slide, as you can see, the major objectives of sex education, it is first to develop emotionally stable adolescents who feel sufficiently secure and adequate to make decisions regarding their conduct without being carried away by their emotions. To provide sound knowledge not only of physical aspects of sexual behavior but also its psychological and sociological aspects, so that sexual experience will be viewed as a part of the total personality of that individual and not a sort of a taboo. And third is to develop attitudes and standards to conduct, which will ensure that adolescents will determine their sexual and other behavior by considering its long range effects on their own personal development, of other individuals, and welfare of society as a whole. So, according to the recent census, adolescents form a significant population of the India's population, that is about 243 million. So, as we all know, adolescents, the young people, they're a very rich human resource. Therefore, maintaining and providing required health care to adolescents, it goes a long way in raising health status of the society. Now, adolescents show a high degree of vulnerability to HIV/AIDS and other sexually transmitted diseases, and that's why sexual education is very, very important in this time. Now, methodology for the description for this descriptive paper, the data collected was secondary. Various research papers, reviewed papers, uh, were read, analyzed, and evaluated to form an opinion on the topic. Now, I also the newspaper articles of the recent news about the all these sexual crimes that have been going on. They have also been researched, and I've also included these things in this paper. Now, all the referred research papers, review papers, articles, and news articles provided sufficient and in-depth knowledge about the topic. Let's move ahead. So, Indian culture and sexuality. Sexual taboos have their roots in cultural beliefs and have important indication on the sexual health and morbidity. Culture, especially Indian culture, defines what a person should believe in, how to behave, and how openly they can discuss the matters of sexuality. We as Indians, we can concur to this when I say that we are a collectivistic society. We believe in our culture, and that's why these taboos that have been going on. It is because of this society that we have been in it for a long time, and the elders, we listen it from our elders, our teachers even, that it is not very good to express your feelings about these things in an open manner. Now, so conservative societies, especially, they forbid these kinds of discussions. Many societies in India still hold misconceptions and myths about menstruation and masturbation. Elders, especially, they feel reluctant to educate children on the matters of bodily changes, and teachers too, they feel uncomfortable discussing about these topics to their students. Well, I would know this, right, because I have been a student quite a few time back, and still now also the teachers are very reluctant on the matters where the reproductive chapter is going on. So teachers, they also feel uncomfortable about telling their students about these things. Now, India is one of the oldest cultures to study sexuality and imparting its information in the form of arts and literature. But with foreign invasion later, much of the literature went missing, and people lost their touch with the knowledge about these things, about sexuality, about this literature and the art. Gradually, new norms were made, and till date, Indian societies are ridden from talking about the matters of menstruation, masturbation, and coitus. There is no provision for adolescents to understand about these things. A recent study found that only one third of rural girls were told about the menstruation by their mothers, and only one fourth were explained the reason behind it. So, uh, the rural girls, it is very difficult for them. It is more difficult for them. We in urban class, we can use the help of our friends, or we can use the help of internet nowadays, and we get to know these things very easily nowadays. But the rural girls, they have no provision to know about these things. Their mothers don't talk about these things, and they get to know it when it actually happens with them. So this is very difficult for them, you can say. In one study, it was found that friends were the source of information about the sexual intercourse for 75% of the young adults, whereas for 50% it was pornography, films, and books. Now, these sources, as you all can tell, they are not very reliable, and they give a very not good kind of information about relationship building or sexual safety or preventative measures, and how the biological, psychological, emotions of the adolescents are affected. They don't give information about these things, and even the peers from whom certain people know about these things, they are also of the same age, so obviously they wouldn't know. They are also not aware about these things. Now, in a recent study on the upper middle class adolescents of Mumbai, it was found that they still follow the traditional norms and believe that they should wait until after they become adults before being sexually active. Now, this is a study, but you all know that in India, especially, uh, we have this you can say tradition that we are not supposed to have any kind of contact with the opposite sex uh, before marriage even. Like small societies like my city Bilaspur, it is a very small city, so here also there is no talking about these things. Here even now, having a boyfriend or girlfriend is a very like uh, new thing, you can say. Now people, they don't live together, like like they live in the relationship. No one have that, right? So these are very new things. So in Mumbai you can see that it was until after the adults, until after people become adults, before they are sexually active. But I think it's mostly like before wedding, they cannot have it. After wedding they know about these things. Now, another study assessed the percentage of sexuality among Indian urban school adolescents. The rate of having sexual contact was 30.08% for boys and 17.18% for girls, and around 6% boys and 1% girls reported having had sexual intercourse. So, as you can see, these adolescents, they are experiencing sexual intercourse, and that's what is very important to let them know that what are the safety measures that they should take, what happens and why does it happen, and how do you manage these kind of emotions and every kind of changes that is happening to you. This is very important because nowadays adolescents are engaging in these kind of activities. They are impulsive and they are indulging in the risky behavior. Now, issues faced by women in India. So 45% of women in India marry before the age of 18, and 22% of them give birth to their first child even before they attain the legal age for marriage. Now, this has its roots in the poor education of the girl child, and also because of the burden felt by the parents to just let go of their girl child, right? To wed her, to make to yeah wed her to a person. Now, modern contraceptive usage is badly low, ranging from a mere 12% in Delhi to 2% in Bihar in the age group of 15 to 16 years. This is further accomplished by the rising causes of HIV/AIDS, with the adolescent and young population comprising 34% of total AIDS patients. The situation is alarming when it comes to statistics of child abuse in India. In a study on child sex abuse by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, it was found that approximately 53% of male and 43% of adolescent females were victims of sex abuse. And in 2019, India recorded an average of 87 rape cases daily. I mean, this is way more, right? And overall, 4,05,861 cases of crime against women occurred during the year, a rise of over 7% from 2018. So you can understand from these all figures that is given in this slide that these issues, they are very prominent. They're actually rising, you can say, in India. And not having awareness, not having any kind of information about these things, not having education about these things, it is a factor. Right, it is a factor. Obviously, morality and all of these things are a factor too. But if the people are educated about these things, if they get to know that mm, they are doing wrong things, they are not behaving in a proper way, So maybe these cases will decrease in the years to come. Right. So that's why the National Council for Educational Research and Training (NCRT) it has included sex education as its curriculum since 1993 in India. In 1994, at UN International Conference on Population and Development and its five-year review member states of the UN, including India, uh, that declared the sexual and reproductive rights of adolescents and young people. So this was made in order to make the adolescent and young people to freely make informed decisions on the matters relating to their sexuality and reproduction. So that's why it was said at the UN international conference that they require these adolescents and young people require comprehensive sexual education. Therefore, Government of India is obliged to provide free and compulsory comprehensive sexual education for adolescents and young people. Now, what is comprehensive sex education? Comprehensive sex education includes all the educational measures which centers around sex. Now, evidence shows that a combination of comprehensive sex education and access to birth control appears to decrease the rates of unwanted pregnancies among teenagers. Now, comprehensive sex education, is it better than abstinence only program? So a comparison was made between these two programs, and it was found that abstinence only program did not reduce the probability of pregnancy, because in abstinence only program it was only taught about these contraceptive methods, the preventative tools, about the body, what happens in a sexual intercourse. Only these things were uh, told in the abstinence only program. But the comprehensive sex education, it includes everything, all the domains, biological, psychological, social aspects, how to build a relationship, how to communicate, how to have an interpersonal and interpersonal relationship. Everything is taught in this comprehensive sex education. So it is definitely better than abstinence only program, you can say. Um, so CSE enables comprehensive sex education. It enables adolescents to make informed decisions when it comes to their sexuality and health. These programs also help develop life skills and develop responsible, mature behavior in young people who can understand about human rights, gender differences, sexual choices of the opposite person, etc. Now, role of mental health professionals. How can a mental health professional help in spreading awareness about sex education? So, mental health professionals, they play a very important role in discussing sexuality as part of their daily clinical practices. They come across with people who face problems with their sexuality, their relationship building, and also with people who have faced traumatic sexual incidents, childhood sexual abuses, rapes, violent sexual intercourses, masturbation, and even pregnancy are well documented risk factors for development of depression, schizophrenia, and personality disorders in later life. So, additionally, people with alternate sexualities and gender incongruence can go through a lot of difficulties. You can, you, I can give you an example of LGBTQ society that already goes through various societal stigmas, like how they're not supposed to love someone from the same sex gender, and these kind of things, the bodily changes, their minds are changing. The LGBTQ society, they are already very confused and very scared, and these stigmas that they are getting from the society, they make them even more helpless. Right. So in this kind of situation, mental health professionals, they play a very important role. Now, LGBTQ society is already having difficulties with their gender identity, their sexual choices, and with little or no imparting of sex education, they are even more confused than ever. So this worsens the mental health of a person. The mental health professional's role is to advocate for appropriate sex education. Their roles are collaborative with parents, educators, civil services, and government bodies. They can contribute in various ways, but particularly in assisting with the development of a curriculum that integrates physiological, biological, and psychological elements. Another role of mental health professionals is to research ways to collect data on the current status and population needs for sex education and to evaluate programs for sex education. Now, conclusion. So, health is a very basic human right, and so is sexual health. Adolescents have the right to lead a healthy lifestyle. As they grow, they want to become independent and responsible and make their own decisions. The balance between responsibility and rights is crucial for the development so that there is no emotion of guilt and regret in the future. But responsibility is a two-way street, and that's why society needs to provide them with the correct and complete information, and the young people must understand carefully. Also, any states that aim to target maximum audience cannot do so only by formal educational schemes. There has to be mental health groups, NGOs, community programs, and many more things to target audience through both formal and informal way of communication. So in the light of this paper, it can be known that India is obliged to provide comprehensive sexuality education in all public and private schools, and that the denial of such education to children, adolescents, and young people is a violation of India's commitments under international law. Further, the provision of age-appropriate comprehensive education on sexuality and HIV/AIDS can also have significant consequences in dealing with sexual abuse and in reducing the spread of sexually transmitted diseases. Thank you.
1 minute. So, Miti, indeed, nice topic, and it's a much needed, aspect of much needed aspect in the society. So,
Yes.
thank you so much for this wonderful presentation, and all the best for your future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.